This is for the hearts on fire, out of control. We gotta let it know. This is for the hearts on fire, singing aloud. It's only my way to know. I wish you could read my mind, or give me a sign, or tell me you wanted to be mine. This is for the hearts on fire, singing aloud. It's only my way to know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is Monday, December 13th, 2021, and you are listening to episode 126 of the Can I Say Something podcast. I'm your host and a recluse with a juicy caboose, Damien. Joining me today is a book I love to crack open,
Gage,
and a very special guest,
Derek McDuff.
Today on the show, we'll be discussing with spoilers for everything always. More discussions about the best show on television today, Succession, and many, many more reviews of some of the most anticipated, most acclaimed, and most talked about films of Oscar season 2021. Rate to the show, bicycle@gmail.com, bicycle on Twitter, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, tell a friend, family member, stranger. Guys, what's up? How are we doing?
hey man, I'm good. How are you?
Good. How you doing over there, Derek?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Life's good,
Very good.
know. Things are getting hectic as it's getting closer to Christmas, but it's good.
Yes, it's getting hectic to the Christmas time. We got a major storm brewing over here. Just saw some tornadoes were sprouting in the Midwest. I think that storm cell is coming over our neck of the woods, so I think that might be what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, Derek, you watch football?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you remember that Buffalo game that they just had against the Patriots? Those
Oh, yeah,
60
the
mile per
horrible
hour
game?
gusts.
Where
Yeah,
there was
that's what.
where the Patriots passed 3 times the entire game.
Yeah, and one. Yeah, that's what we got right now. We got those 60 mile per hour gusts. So I'm gonna need to go throw out football out in the parking lot, and you'll get the real gist of how bad it is right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But we got tons of shit going on over here. I don't know if you looked at the outline recently, but I've been
a lot of shit on the outline, dude.
I've been a busy little beaver trying to shove all of the holiday stuff, all of the Oscar contenders. I've watched 5 things in the last 2 days. It has just been a mad rush. This is not even binging. This goes beyond binging. I'm gorging right now on Oscar acclaimed movies and shit. So why don't we get started? Succession season 3, season finale is going to be tomorrow. Derek, let me start with you. Have you seen any Succession? Are you a Succession head?
You know, I've been meaning to, man. It's one of those things I just haven't gotten around to. You know, there's just so much stuff to watch, and everybody tells me that I know who watches it tells me how great it is. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I need to, though.
Yeah, so we'll just have a quick, Dion will have a quick discussion about this and move on. But Dion, what are your final predictions? Let's talk about predictions. First of all, is Kendall alive or dead?
It's totally a lie.
Sure.
Spoilers, I guess.
Live?
I mean, I know. I was just thinking though. I was like, Derek's listening to this. He just said he didn't watch any of it, and then you're just like, is he alive or dead?
Well, that means we don't know for sure. So I guess you're not spoiling anything.
Yeah,
sure,
we're
okay.
speculating. We're speculating. Yeah. So
I say he's totally alive. I think he was just kind of doing the thing that his dad told him to do when they had that awkward, super cringy dinner conversation, putting himself in the shoes of the guy before him. So I don't think he's dead at all. I think everybody was just getting like real worked up. Apparently, I guess a lot of that rumor came from the fact that he doesn't get along well with his castmates in like real life.
Yes. That was part of the New Yorker article written by Michael Schumann, came out this week. Explosive article. What do you call that? The hit piece, people are calling it. And people are coming to Jeremy Strong's defense, Jessica Chastain. A couple other, I think Aaron Sorkin came to his defense because he was in Trial of Chicago 7.
So that's what that Sorkin thing was. Okay.
Yes. So the article is entitled, "On Succession, Jeremy Strong doesn't get the joke. I take him," quote, he says, what do you say? Jeremy Strong said, quote, "I take him as seriously as I take my own life." So the overall gist of the article, if you guys haven't read it, is that Jeremy Strong is apparently a method actor. I think that's a dirty word in the acting world. People like to say he's like what did he say in the article? It calls him a full immersion acting method. It's the new catchphrase or whatever. But it's method acting. He gets into the character. He doesn't like to get out of the character. Deanne, let me ask you first, and I'll get Derek's reaction to this. But Deanne, what do you think of method acting overall? Is it stupid? Is it nerdy?
I mean, if you're not like cringy about it, then I could see how it would work. You got to know how to turn it off. Like, well, you hear like the stories about like the Jared Leto on set, and like he just made everybody very uncomfortable and did some pretty messed up stuff to like with the Suicide Squad or something like that. And then there's another one that's slipping. Oh, like Heath Ledger, I guess I'm saying like the Joker persona. Like they got into this like clown. I don't know, just terrible headspace, and it just put a weird pall on like the whole production. So like if you can use it responsibly, it has its purposes.
Yeah, Derek, what is your view on actors getting deep into character and not coming out of character until the filming's done?
Well, I actually might have a little bit of insight into this because I was like an actor for a little while. I was a theater major for 3 semesters. Before I realized how much everyone in that world just was kind of terrible. And including a lot of the people who were just kind of like, oh, I'm totally method, And even, like you mentioned Jared Leto, but even like Daniel Day-Lewis, respected actors and stuff like that who go full method. Like Liam Neeson has talked about how much he fucking hates him because when they were shooting gigs in New York and he would just be a jerk to him all the time and just kept calling him priest, Valen, and just was super like an asshole to him all the time. And just, I think it just, it always reminds me of there's this story. I think it was when they were shooting Marathon Man, and it's Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, right? And Hoffman, he's got to get like really, sweaty and just emotional, and so he goes around and just jogging and just so he gets super tired. And Laurence Olivier is like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And he's like, I got to get worked up. And then Laurence Olivier just looks at him and goes, "You should try acting. It's a lot easier."
Yeah. I love that story. Yeah, I think it's a thing where, like we were saying, if you're going out of your way to be a dick to people, that's terrible. But if you're just like a recluse like I am, just like if you're just sitting in your trailer being in character and you're not bugging anybody and you come out and do your job and go back to your trailer, that's one thing. But if you're like Jared Leto and you're sending like, what was it, pig's blood or weird things to people, like if you're actively
sending like use condoms and shit like that to people.
Yeah. If you're actively being an asshole to people, that's not okay. But I think if you're just like isolating yourself until the thing's over, that's I guess okay. But yeah, it's a very, very weird way to go about it. And I don't know. I've never been an actor. I don't have any, I don't want to try it, but I feel like, if you can't get into the role without doing all this extra legwork, I think you're not that great at it, right? If you have to put all this extra work into it, or do you have the natural talent? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it's one of those things. It feels like just like a way to get like, oh my gosh, did you hear that he went full method in this movie? It's got to be an amazing performance. Other than a few guys like Daniel Day-Lewis, I think it's a lot of times it's just kind of like a crutch or like a ploy.
Yeah, you like going into business for yourself or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a couple clips from the article I wanted to say. It said, quote, between takes of the trial scenes in which the Gippies mocked Judge Julius Hoffman, played by Frank Langella, Strong would read aloud from Langella's memoir in silly voices and put a remote-controlled fart machine below the judge's chair. Quote, every once in a while I'd say, great, let's do it again. And this time, Jeremy, maybe don't play the kazoo in the middle of Frank Langella's monologue, Sorkin said about the trial of Chicago 7. And then later, Brian Cox said, let's see. When this is the journalist talking. When I asked Brian Cox, who played Logan, the patriarch, to describe Strong's process, he struck a note of fatherly concern. He said, quote, the result that Jeremy gets is always pretty tremendous, he said. I just worry about what he does to himself. I worry about the crisis he puts himself through in order to prepare. Cox, a classically trained British stage actor, has a turn it on, turn it off approach to acting, and his relationship with Strong recalls a famous story about Laurence Olivier, which Derek just mentioned. And then Cox goes on to say, actors are funny creatures. I've worked with intense actors before. It's a particularly American disease, I think, this inability to separate yourself off while you're doing the job. But again, Daniel Day-Lewis is not American, so it's not strictly American. But yeah, I think the thing also was, I think Aaron Sorkin actually released the entire transcript of what he said to the journalist, and it was the journalist did kind of cherry pick a lot of the quotes that Sorkin gave him. Sorkin was a lot more even-handed. He said it was fine. He went to extreme, but it was fine. At the end of the day, we were fine with it. Nobody really got upset about it, and we were friends afterwards, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. So very, very interesting article.
Yeah, I mean, how can we take Logan's word seriously anyways? How do you know it's not one of those head tricks, Like maybe he's in character trying to mess with Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, exactly. We do have to mention the cringiest moment of the show so far. Probably one of the cringiest moments I've seen in television so far. So just to set this up, what's his name? Roman pretty much is in lead to take over the company from his father, Logan. So they have this huge big meeting, at the moment. So they have this big meeting. Roman is setting up this giant merger deal with this other company, this other CEO, right? They come back to the table. They come back to the office. It's done. It's basically in the books. It's finalized. They just gotta get the lawyers to set it up, right? So Roman gets a text from this older woman that he's been aggressively flirting with, to the point where she's just like, stop fucking showing your dick to me. Stop sending me these dick pics. So in context, in hindsight, actually, it's the, what's it called? Chekhov's dick pic is what actually went on in the beginning of the show. Because at the meeting where they're all celebrating, he gets a text from Jerry, the woman he's flirting with. She's like 60, 65 years old. He's like in his 30s. So she sends him a text saying, good job, Roman. And Roman sends a text back to her of his dick, another dick pic. Except he didn't send it to Jerry. He sent it to his father, Logan, the CEO of the company. And the position that Roman, and the position that the actor, what's the actor's name? Kieran Culkin puts up these, he just shrinks into himself in the scene. It's just, oh my fucking God. And then Logan brings him to the next room and he's just like, boy, are you a fucking pervert? Are you fucking deranged? What the fuck is the matter with you? And he's like, it's just, we do a thing. We just send dick pics to each other, Dad. That's a thing. Haven't you heard of dick pics? And he's like, son, I run 30 disgusting magazines. Of course I've heard of dick pics. We probably quoted the damn thing. We probably invented the dick pic, son. I know what a dick pic is, but why the fuck are you doing it? Oh man, just
in the middle of a sex scandal too.
In the middle of a sexual
assault scandal. Huh?
Yeah. And then
that face that he made. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Logan then says to Roman, "All right, we'll just fire Jerry." Roman's like, "Dad, I'm not a feminist, but I don't think firing the woman that received the dick pic is a great way to go."
Yeah, man. That whole that. From the moment he sent it, because they were heavy-handed with it throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
And then it's just everything that he was saying about dicks the entire episode. He even said something about Pandora. He was talking to Jerry. He was like, don't open Pandora's box. It's just full of more dicks.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it's just like that look of realization where Jerry's phone doesn't go off, but his dad's does. And he's looking at his phone like, the fuck just happened? And then it's just like when you said he shrinks in on himself. I saw this meme that had all four of his faces, like all four stages of what he was going through. And it's just like, I went through that too. Like that was my face too. I'm like, no. It's everything. That was great. And when you were telling me to you were asking me about the episode because you couldn't watch it right when it dropped.
No.
And I'm like, I can't tell you the cringiest part of this thing. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not even going to say anything about it because I want you to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you saw it, it was just like one word text, like a chain. Like you gave me a sentence of one word things. It's like, what? Period. The period. Fuck. Period. Just happened.
Oh man, I cannot believe this show just goes farther and farther with, like you said, earlier in season 3, they had the moment where Shiv has to give a presentation and she's like, we take sexual harassment in this company very seriously. We're going to be investigating this, that, and the other thing. And suddenly Rape Me by Nirvana starts coming on and fucking Kendall set it all up. And just, oh my God, I thought that was going to be the big moment of the season, and just they outdid themselves somehow. They outdid themselves. Just an amazing show.
Show has a lot of moments. Yeah.
Yes.
So I know you said that, Derek, you said that you were gonna you had a lot of stuff to watch. I feel the same way. Like there's so much content out there. I just actually had to force myself to sit down and watch the first episode. And once you watch that first episode, it's like smooth sailing from that point on. You just binge the rest real easy.
Okay. Yeah, I need to watch it. You know, there's just, like I said, like especially this month, like with all me trying to cram all the Oscar movies and stuff before the end of the month.
Yeah, a lot out there. Speaking of a lot of things out there, Wheel of Time is up to episode 6. I'll just talk about this real quick. It's very, very good. I finished book 6, Lord of Chaos, so I'm well ahead of the show. I think they're only going to do like one book per season, sort of like the Game of Thrones model. It's good, very, very good. I would highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime. Speaking of books, I finished the Expanse series. Leviathan Falls was the last book in the series. It's just very good, very good. Hard sci-fi. I've told you this a couple times, but it's basically, it's like The Martian. It's very near future. It's very like, we need to use thrusters, where thrusters put us this way in this orbit of this planet that'll swing shot us back to this place. They're talking about, pulling 6Gs, 7Gs, and they have these like tubes that'll shoot stuff into their veins so they don't pass out from like doing like 15, 20 Gs. It's pretty intense.
Sounds more like Interstellar.
Interstellar, yeah, that too. Which that was also a hard sci-fi, yeah.
Well, Martian sounded a little bit more comical, and I remember you saying it was a soft sci-fi comparison to Interstellar because we had those in a cage match once.
We did. I don't know if I said it was. I mean, softer, I guess, just in terms of like. Yeah. I guess it was more like arcadey, I guess is the right word. If Interstellar was like simulation, I guess you could say Martian was a little arcadey. They took more liberties with the science with it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So something we've all watched, Hawkeye episode 4, Partners. Am I right? So what do you guys think of Hawkeye episode 4?
Yeah,
I actually haven't watched episode 4. I'm only on episode 1, so I'll let you guys take the lead on this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Derek, what do you think of episode 4?
I thought it was good. I think it might have been my favorite episode so far. Far I've been lukewarm on Hawkeye. Like it's okay, but some of the stuff like the representation for deaf people and just kind of how they were just like, oh, here's a Children of Men shot. There've been some cool moments in it. But, it's mostly been kind of just like Hawkeye's, like Haley Steinfeld keeps saying, oh, you're kind of like everybody's least favorite Avenger. And I'm like, all right, Hawkeye, I'm, not that super interested in him. But now it feels like, okay, they're setting stuff up. Things are happening. It's not just kind of like filler. It's like we're getting to, there's only 2 episodes left. So we're getting to stuff that's going to happen. And I think that I really felt in this last episode that I think Hawkeye and Black Widow are really a good team.
Yeah.
And when you kind of take them away from each other, they become less interesting. And I really do like them as, because you don't get a lot in media where it is a male and a female character and they're just best friends and they're not interested in each other in a romantic or sexual way. There's a little bit of hints to that in Avengers, but they've gone completely in different directions since then. And I really like that dynamic that they've built up where they have just been kind of like each other's person, but not like just best friends, And you really rarely ever see that. And now that I feel like all the connections that are happening where they're starting to he's like, oh, all the guilt that he feels about Black Widow and everything. And you kind of see like a flashback for a second and then spoilers, sorry. But the stuff about where you see Yelena and you're like, oh, okay, now I feel like the Black Widow and Hawkeye, having watched both of them, they are improving each other. I like Black Widow a lot more now in the context of Hawkeye, and I like Hawkeye with the context of having watched Black Widow and how they kind of set each other up and bounce off each other. I think that's really cool. Really excited to see where it goes. And I think probably my favorite thing about Hawkeye is how it feels like an appropriate level of stakes for him. Like, he's just a guy shooting a boner. It's not like, oh no, the universe is gonna end and Hawkeye's gotta save it. Like, no, he's just like fighting some gangsters in New York, and it's all kind of tied into his time as Ronin and stuff like that, and kind of his past coming back to haunt him. It feels like the exact right stakes. It doesn't need to kind of just be like, okay, well, it's an Avengers level threat. Things are big and happening. It's like, okay, Loki's out here doing his big universe spanning thing, and there's all these things. WandaVision is all this stuff is happening. This is just kind of like a personal story, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because they had the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer like update, I guess. So they put in what was the stage show called? In the Hawkeye thing. They had Captain
Rogers.
Yeah, they had
I love that.
Yeah, I did
my
too.
God.
They had an ad
dying.
for Rogers. Yeah, that was incredible. They had an ad for Rogers in the new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. So it'd be interesting to see if they tie that in there. And yeah, I think they will have to stick the landing again. It's just that's why I love Loki so much. It's still on my top Marvel thing in Phase 4 so far. One of my top things I've seen all year. So definitely need to see if they stick to landing. But yeah, I agree. It's one of my favorite TV shows so far. One of my favorite Phase 4 things so far. Galaxy Brain here, real quick. Who do you think the watch belongs to, and what is the significance of the watch?
And that is a very good question.
Yeah, I don't even have any ideas. All I know from the first episode, they were after the watch. I have no idea, like, any context behind it. So
See,
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, I could go and like look and like, oh man, like there's this guy who had a watch in this comic book, this obscure reference, and like there's a million videos. It's like where you see like a big red arrow pointing to the watch, and it's like, could it be this guy? You know?
Yeah.
Like, could it be? I know he's a DC character, but like, could it be Clock King or whatever? And it's just like, you know, I just don't want to like. I'm just kind of want to be surprised and don't want to engage because that feels like we're going down the like Mephisto was behind.
Yeah, dude.
Who's the power broker? Like. Yeah, exactly.
It's Mephisto.
Mephisto, who is also the power broker. That's whose watch it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Stupid question. Stupid question. Yep.
So it'll probably just be like, you know, it has some sort of tie to his family, right? Because what is going on with him and his wife? Like his wife speaking Russian or whatever, or like Pig Latin or something, right? What was she?
I think it was Russian, right? I want to say it was Russian.
Something like that. So what's up with that? Yeah, what's up with that? Is he? Because he said to Kate, like, oh yeah, my friend, if this watch falls in the wrong hands, a good friend of mine who's been off the radar for a while will his cover or their cover will be blown. It's like, who is that? Is he just referencing himself as Ronin? Is he talking about his wife? Is he talking about another Avenger? Who do you think he's talking about?
I think probably like his himself, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, right?
Yeah, maybe he's pulling like a Hulk thing, like, you know, it's like, oh, that part of me's gone, you know, like he went away.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he's talking about Ronin like that.
Yeah,
although I don't see why Ronin would have
Widow.
like a
Black Widow, yeah.
It's tough because I don't see why Ronin would have like a flair for like you know, the materialistic stuff. Like, what this watch is so important to like the killer part of him. Like, I don't know if it have to be related to him.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somebody
to,
knows.
Got to be attached to him and his family because they had that notebook right next to it where she's like, "Oh, hey guy, they're staking you out. they're trying to find everybody that's important to you. So it's definitely got to be like, you know, it has a tracer on it, or it was made somewhere, or it's some way of connecting with him with his family, right?
Yeah, you take the back off and it has like an Infinity Stone in it.
And it was, and it was something that got stolen when you know, I guess. When Vulture did that heist in, was it the Spider-Man Homecoming, right? Where they stole all the stuff from the Avengers thing. So, you know, maybe it ties into that somehow.
Yeah, could be, yeah. Yeah, so 2 more episodes to go. It's going to, 5th episode will be next week. Do want to mention real quick, this is going to be one of the last episodes that we do this year. So very excited about Spider-Man No Way Home coming out. I'm going to see it next Thursday, 7 p.m. on the 16th. First night's coming out. Are you going to see it Are you a first night guy? Are you the type that goes out the first night to be with the crowd, or you're not really into that?
Oh yeah, I love that. I love being out there with like everybody cheering and getting super excited for this, like the fans all just like cheering whenever. Like I remember when I saw Endgame, and you know I did see that first night, and when you know Thor grabs the hammer, and just like the energy in that kind of audience is just so much fun. And plus, you know, I hate spoilers, so like that's the only surefire way to avoid that kind of thing.
Yeah. Dion, tell Derek how you feel about the crowd clapping.
I don't know. I'm just not a emotion outward kind of guy. So he brought me to watch Endgame at IMAX, and everybody, they were like people dressed up, all 4 Avengers in front of us, and they got everybody going in a big old chant. And I'm like, oh, that was interesting. But yeah, like standing up and clapping and everyone losing their mind when he picks up the hammer. I'm like, okay, all right, I get you guys. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you do you.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny though. I mean, hey, I'm not trying to harsh anyone's buzz, but you go have fun, you know.
Well, I think it depends on the movie, you know? Like, I think in a Marvel movie, it's more appropriate, but if I'm, like, watching, you know, like, I don't know, something like Spencer or something like that, or, like, A Quiet Place, you know? Like, shut the fuck up if we're watching A Quiet Place.
Yes.
The first time I was ever introduced to somebody, like, cosplaying and clapping and stuff like that was Pirates of the Caribbean. It was the sequel to that, so that seemed a little out of place for me, and I was just like, okay, like people do this kind of thing. So like the superhero stuff made sense, but I guess dressing up like pirates made sense. But standing up at the end of Pirates 2, I was just like, I don't know if that really warranted it, you know?
And also, I hated the ending of Pirates 2. I thought it was gimmicky and
that's what I'm saying.
I booed the end of Pirates
2. Wow, okay. Let's see. So moving on into my stuff, a whole bunch of stuff I got going on this week. I watched Uncut Gems. The Criterion just put out their 4K DVD of that movie. I'm a huge nerd about all this stuff, so I watched the director commentary of that. Movie still pops. Movie still just anxiety inducing. Just incredible. Anytime a movie makes me feel something like that, it's I have to give it props for that. Director commentary.
I think that's one of those movies I don't think I can go back and watch. Like, it was just, I know what I'm in store for, and like all the power to you, but it's just like, oh my God, when does this movie end? I'm dying over here. It was a good movie. It's just like, I can't live with that pit in my stomach the entire time. Damn.
Right.
No, I get that.
You still got to see it, Derek? You said?
I still haven't seen that one. It's been on my list for a while now. It's just, because it came out 2019, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the end of 2019, I believe.
So, I think, I've been like the last couple of years, I've been trying to like, at the end of the year, I'm like, okay, got to catch up on the stuff that came out this past year, so I'm watching all the 2021 stuff, and then last year I was watching all the 2020 stuff, so I just, anything I missed in 2019, I haven't gotten back around to yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too, basically, is just trying to watch a couple things here and there, go back and watch one thing once in a while, but yeah, basically just it's like a treadmill. Got to stay on the treadmill, to stay caught up with everything. But yeah, director commentary, highly recommend watching that. Speaking of things that I love watching the behind the scenes of, The Beatles Get Back, parts 1, 2, and 3 are on Disney Plus right now. It's an 8-hour documentary. Speaking of time-consuming things, it's an 8-hour documentary directed by Peter Jackson. This is basically the making of the last Beatles album, titled Let It Be. This is incredible. I'm a huge process nerd. I love learning about how things are made. I listen to every interview writers and directors and actors do. I love when they get into like, I was doing this scene with this person and I felt really intense working with this actor or whatever, and this is how we set up this scene, and all that stuff is really, really cool to me. So this is just catnip for me. I love this stuff. Deanne, did you listen to Ben Simmons or Bill Simmons talking about this on his podcast recently?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he was gushing about it. He loved it. And I thought, it was interesting what he was saying. Like, when you look back on it, the hindsight kind of to it, where he was saying, like, so you got all four of these guys just kind of chilling in a room, and they're, two of them, like Lennon and McCartney, are just, talking about something else, and you just got, but you one of them, I forget who he said it was, it's just like, trying to hammer out Let It Be, and he's just kind of like doing it like half-mindedly kind of thing while the conversation's going on the side, and it's just like, You look back on that moment, and it was just like they had no idea that was going to be as captivating as it was. It wasn't going to be as popular as it ever got. But here you are, you just hear like the bare bones of it, the construction of it, and it's just like I didn't watch it, but just hearing Simmons talk about it was just kind of like, holy shit, that does sound like really interesting, like a real, I don't know, just a heavy moment kind of thing, just like they have no idea, we have an idea what happened, and it's just I don't know, it sounded cool. But yeah, he was gushing about it. He loved it.
Yeah, I've always been interested to know, like, when you're writing a song, do you start with the music or the lyrics, or where does the riff come from? And like I put a link into the doc here, Paul McCartney composing Get Back. And he's just sitting there for like 2 or 3 minutes. It's cut together over, probably an hour or two, but he's just sitting there just doing the basic bass line, and he's just mumbling things out, and then he eventually says, get back, You better, and they're like, just okay, that's a thing. That could be a chorus or something, and then they keeps going and keeps going. And he was Bill was saying how okay they did that like 50 times. He's like maybe we could just show that 25 times. Well, I got it, I got it after a while. Yeah. So, but it's just so goddamn interesting to be like it's always that thing of saying like I wish I was a fly in the wall when this happened or that happened. It's so you're hanging out with the Beatles for 8 hours while they make some of the best music they've ever made. I could watch 20 hours of this. This is just so captivating the entire time. It was great. And one of the things I wrote down, which is something I always talk about, is having a self-awareness and looking into the future and seeing how things are going to be perceived in the future. Paul even says, as they're making the thing, like he looks in the camera, he's like, people are going to look at this and be like, think Yoko broke up the band because the entire movie, Yoko is just like literally right on John's hip the entire time. Like she's not saying anything, she's not doing anything, but she's just there, just this like presence of just like, what are you doing? You're flipping through this magazine the entire time while these people are making history, but she is not like annoying at all. Like there's probably I haven't watched all 3 parts yet. I've watched 2 parts, but of those 2 parts, it's probably 6 hours and maybe 5 minutes of her singing something, of like them playing a song of her just going just making cat noises over and over again as she does. But it's just such a small moment in the entire experience of watching this. It's just like, no, she was not part of that. And also they were not at each other's throats like people thought they were. Even Paul thought for years and years, just based on the media saying it happened, he's like, okay, I guess we were mad at each other. I guess it happened. I don't remember it that way, but I guess it was that way. And so when Peter Jackson originally showed him a rough cut of the documentary, he was like, holy shit, we were fine the entire time. Yeah. We didn't fight at all. We were going together just fine. And basically, it was them two. It was Paul and John basically doing everything. And the sad part is, George Harrison was a great guitarist and a great songwriter in and of himself. Oh, yeah. And he was doing like he was playing I Me Mine for them for a little bit. And he's like, John and Paul were like, yeah, maybe, brother, maybe later we'll do that. But we got some stuff we're gonna do later. We're gonna do some stuff right now. You do that later on yourself. But we're gonna. It's just like eventually George actually does walk out. The end of the first episode is George walking out because he was just like, fuck this. I'm showing them these songs. I understand. I'm not gonna have every song on the album, but I'm showing these 2 or 3 songs, and I expect them to be respectful and have let's develop this just like we're developing those other songs. And they just completely ignored me. So he walked out in the beginning of the second episode. Is all about them trying to bring him back into the thing. And they were like, why don't we just get Clapton? Clapton's this new guy. Let's bring him in. He can replace George in this thing. Cause they just thought of him just as a guy with arms and play guitar fine, just fine enough to be a good rhythm guitarist in the background. So they didn't really think of him on their level, which I guess you could say he wasn't, but he was still very, very talented himself. So highly recommend if you have 8 hours to spend. Beatles Get Back on Disney Plus.
Honestly, man, George is my favorite. I think George has more talent than either of those two guys. Like, and I think like that's the thing is like they were like, oh, we're the guys, we're the Beatles, but like George, like I need to still watch that other documentary that Scorsese did a couple years back of George Harrison and Materials. It's 2 parts, just because I think he is just so immensely talented and he never gets the credit. And I think it's because of John and Paul just kind of like gatekeeping, the Beatles and just being like, oh, we're the Beatles, we're the guys, it wasn't George, even though George, if you look at their solo careers afterwards, it's clear that George had so much more talent, at least to me.
Yes. I don't know the Beatles that well. I became a fan of them actually when Beatles Rock Band came out in 2009, and it basically broke down every segment of what they did down to. Especially the melodies, the vocal melodies is so intricate, and it's like if you have three different people, you can have 3 different melodies going the entire time, but it all comes together. It all like weaves together to make a really, really beautiful sound. It was really cool. I really got a big appreciation based on Rock Band back then. Dion, any chance you're going to check this out?
None.
0.
0% chance.
Zero chance. Listen, I respect the Beatles and what they did for music, but honestly, they're I don't know. I never vibed with their music.
Yeah.
I want what they've brought to the industry. Aces.
Sure.
People they influenced.
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, I'm more of a Stones guy myself, and you know, I think that also Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys does not get enough credit for being as just much of a musical genius and a revolutionary guy is, because the Beatles just get kind of thought of as like, oh, they're this fun surf band and Mike Love and all that stuff, but like this guy, like Pet Sounds is like one of the most, if not the most influential records probably of the last 50 years.
Beach Boys, A+.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
all right.
Just went off on a tangent. Just like had to vent for a second.
That's all right. So Power of the Dog just came out on Netflix. It's Jane Campion's first movie in I think 12 or 13 years. She's one of these people that I have a huge blind spot on. I had never seen any of her movies. Power of the Dog and The Piano is also on Netflix, so I checked out The Piano first. I guess this is one of her most acclaimed movies. She won, I think, Best Director of that year. Holly Hunter won Best Actress.
She didn't win because she's still one of only 7 female directors to get nominated. She was like the second or the third at the time, but the first one female director to win, I'm pretty sure here was Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker.
True. That is true. Yes, I forgot about that. This was
some bullshit when your last name's Champion and you don't win.
I'm sorry, I misspelled it. It's supposed to be Campion. Campion.
That's how they got her. That's how they got her. They said nope.
Yeah, exactly. So, The Piano from 1993 stars Holly Hunter, Anna Paquin, Sam Neill, and Harvey Keitel. Anna Paquin is like 9 years old in this. She gives one of the best performances I've ever seen as a kid actor. I believe this is correct. Did she win for supporting actress that year?
Yeah, she won. I want to say she was 11 when she won, and she's the youngest actor to win. At least at the time, I believe she was the youngest actress to win an Academy Award.
Yeah, because before her, wasn't it Jodie Foster for The Taxi Driver?
Yeah. And I don't know if Jacob Tremblay won. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. No. I think, he was nominated. And I think, what's her name? Brie Larson won for Room. Okay. The Room. Yeah. This is incredible. Holly Hunter, it's a lot. It's very weird, like just now in the what do you call it? The zeitgeist of so many deaf representation in media right now with Hawkeye, with there's a bunch of Coda. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things in just movies, TV shows right now with deaf representation. And Holly Hunter just happened to play a deaf person in this as well. She was incredible in this. This is a really, really great movie. Again, I think we talked, the first time we talked was, I asked you about old classic movies. Do you go back to them and how many of them feel like homework and how many do you actually enjoy watching? And this is one that's always felt like, it's a period piece. It's a 30-year-old period piece. It was an Academy Award winning period piece, blah, blah, blah. And it just seemed like such a dusty, bland, one of those, like a Pride and Prejudice type thing, but it's actually really, really good. Sam Neill is great in this. Harvey Keitel plays like a one of those guys that goes and lives with the indigenous people, becomes like part of their tribe and all that. So really great performance by him. Really, really great cinematography. Great performances all around. So I highly recommend watching The Piano before we watch Power of the Dog, her new one, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, and Kirsten Dunst. This reminded me of Kelly Reichardt's First Cow. Are you familiar with Kelly Reichardt, Derek?
I've seen First Cow. I don't know anything else she's done, though.
But I went back and watched Me's Cut Off, and I watched, there was a couple other of them. I forget, can't think of the name right now, but they're very, very good. They remind me of that just based on the scenery. It's a Western sort of thing. The thing about switching back and forth between a 30-year-old movie and watching a movie now is the 30-year-old movie in 1993, they had, film cameras, obviously, and you could see all the grain on them. And I feel like they had more of a organic feel to them. And then you switch over to this, which was, filmed very, very recently, probably with digital cameras. And it looks, a lot sharper, but I feel like it loses some of that, tangibleness to it that you get from a film movie. I don't know if you ever experienced that yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. There's this it's a little outdated now because it's from 2012, but there's this really interesting documentary called Side by Side, and it's narrated by Keanu Reeves, and it has just like everybody big in the film industry on it, and it's kind of talking about the rise of digital media and how it kind of differs from traditional, like the way they used to shoot with film and stuff like that, and how it's kind of like gone, just everybody used to shoot on film and just now it's completely the opposite. It's just like Nolan's like the only guy left. Like even like the champions of film, like Scorsese and all those guys have kind of switched over to digital just because that's the way the industry is now. And yeah, you do kind of lose that gray and stuff like that. There's still some films that are shot on film, like obviously all the Nolan stuff. I know that at least the first Jurassic World was. I hope they have kept that just to kind of keep the aesthetic the same of that kind of like, like you were saying, the kind of like grainier, more granular footage than the kind of more, I wouldn't say pixelated look because it's so clean and precise. It's almost like looking through like a window. That like film, you are very aware when you're watching. Well, at least anybody with like a trained eye is like, okay, this is shot on film. It kind of does have a little bit of a different look than something that is shot digitally.
Yeah, absolutely. This build reminded me of The Nest from last year. Remember the
I needed to see that Carrie Coon.
Yes. Remember, Dan, the contentious The Nest?
The contentious Nest, yeah. We almost came to blows on it.
We did, even though we were recording separately. Almost came to blows through the microphone.
I was going to drive to your house and whip your ass.
Yeah, exactly. It has that weird like dread, that building of dread that you got from that, and also Derek, you saw Spencer, so it has the same sort of building dread. I think because of the same music composer, Johnny Greenwood, did this, and he did Spencer, and he did Licorice Pizza, which I still need to see, but very similar to that. So I would highly recommend watching The Power of the Dog. Probably going to be up for many Oscars for Cumberbatch and Plemons and definitely Kirsten Dunst.
Okay, cool.
So
they're married. Yeah. Did you know that?
They are married. That's true. Yep, Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
they are. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't believe it. Yeah. Shoot. Yeah. He shot his shot. He shot his shot.
Damn.
Damn, he says.
I think this is the first time they've been in a movie together, if I'm not wrong. So that's pretty
I believe
cool.
so. I think they were in the first or second season of Fargo. I think they were in that. It was a very good show. Yeah. Let's see. What else was I going to say about that? Power of the Dog. Watch it. I don't know how I feel about Jesse Plemons. I feel like he's one of these guys that's really, really good. He's very charismatic. I love watching him on screen, but I feel like he has like one gear. He's always that weird, quiet, like very intense guy, but I've never really seen him, move out of that one gear, right?
I don't know. I like him a lot. I think he's I think he's one of our best working character actors. Like, I just think, he does, like you say, he does kind of have that gear, but like it's shades of it, like his character in Game Night, for example, is very different than his character in like Breaking Bad or something.
Yeah. But then you got the character that he played in, what the hell was that? The movie where he was the federal agent.
Oh, Black Klansman.
Yeah. Wait, what was it?
Black Klansman?
No,
pretty sure he was.
It was the one where.
Well, I thought it was Black Klansman. No, pretty sure he was in that. No. Oh, what was the one where
right?
Yeah. With Lakeith Stanfield and the other guy.
People are yelling at us right now. Listen.
Jesus and the Black Messiah.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
in that one too, he had that same kind of like that slow way of speaking, but his words had power behind them, or had like a weight behind them. It was just kind of like this awkward, like. You're not an easily approachable guy, and I'm a little distrustful of you, and I don't know if you're actually on my side or not. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, I haven't seen him so far in anything. Actually, now that you brought up Game Night, the character he played in Game Night, that was actually pretty cool because he shows he can be pretty hilarious. But other than that, I think that he has a same type of role. Are you saying that he has the same kind of one in Power of the Dog?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, pretty much the same, yeah.
I do want to watch that. I haven't gotten around to watching it.
Yeah, same here.
Really good. Really, really good. One of the best I've seen this year, actually. Let's see. So moving on, the Card Counter. This is one I've been looking forward to pretty much all year since I heard about it. This stars Mr. Oscar Isaac, Tiffany Haddish, Ty Sheridan, and Willem Dafoe. This is a movie where I feel like Tiffany Haddish is a pretty good actress. Ty Sheridan is pretty good. But goddamn, Oscar Isaac is a fucking actor. Like everyone else is just like, yeah, he's an actor. He's an actor. But Oscar Isaac is one of the best working actors today. I feel like this is just one of those moments where you're like, holy shit, there's tiers of actors. You got Daniel Day-Lewis, and then you got, I don't know who else, like Seth Rogen. It's just like, it's not that bad, but it's a pretty big gulf between Oscar Isaac and Tiffany Haddish. And because they're pretty much together the entire movie, and you definitely can feel like an intensity, and just he's got something going on that Tiffany Haddish, unfortunately, she has another gear. Again, talking about gears, he just switches into a different gear of just like intensity and just holy shit, just great acting from Oscar Isaac.
He's the dad in Dune, yeah?
Yeah, yep. He was Daddy in Dune. He was Dune Daddy.
Making sure I got it. Yeah, I like it. He's another one of those guys that has like the power in his voice. Like, you listen when he talks.
Yeah, he's in Dune, doing your mom.
Doing your mom, exactly.
All the memes that came out when he's just like him talking to Paul and stuff. Oh man, no, he's great in this. Like, and him going like anytime it's the scene with him and Willem Dafoe, holy shit.
Yeah, that last scene. Yeah, that last scene is just so fucking intense. It reminded me, this is Paul Schrader's second movie in like 3 years after First Reformed, and this reminded me a lot of that, of just that last scene of just a weird, quiet, you're not actually sure what's going on, and the way they shot it, where he just goes into they go into their room, and the camera pans to the left side of the room, and then it's like 4 or 5 hours later, and he just comes out all covered in blood, and his fingers hanging by a thread, and just like holy shit. Deanna, if you don't know what this is about, it's basically a guy, Oscar Isaac plays, a guy named William Tell, who's a gambler, and he taught himself to count cards while he was doing a stint in a military prison. And so basically the entire movie is him just making small amounts of money, going around to different casinos, doing that sort of thing. And then Tiffany Haddish's character comes up to him and is like, you wanna get together? You want me to manage you or whatever? Do you want to be part of a team or whatever? And at first he was like, no, I'm fine on my own. And then Ty Sheridan come up to him and he's like, hey, I know you. You're this guy. You're William Tell, and you worked with my father at the Abu Ghraib prison. And he's like, yeah, how'd you know? And he was like, yeah, my dad told me all about it. I did some research. I knew. And Willem Dafoe plays basically not a general, but some guy that basically ran Abu Ghraib and got off scot-free. So Ty Sheridan comes up with this plan to get revenge on William Dafoe, and it's this whole movie about Oscar Isaac trying to keep Ty Sheridan on the straight and narrow and be like, no, listen, I did my stint in prison. I want to stay clean, and revenge isn't gonna give you the closure that you really think you want, and all this stuff. So very, very intense movie. I would highly recommend watching it. Did you like this one, Derek?
I mean, I didn't love it, I could see there was definitely like really good things about it. Like the performances were really good. I thought it was about some really interesting subject matter, but I thought like the parts didn't add up to a whole, if that makes sense. Like there was some stuff like when they were like doing the flashbacks to the camp, and it was like shot in this like, I don't even know what to call it, like this reverse fisheye lens almost, where everyone was like all short, and I was like, this is supposed to be serious and I understand what you're going for, but it looks really goofy and it's really taking me out of it. And it was okay. I liked it, but I didn't love it. It was another one of those movies where I went in, well, I didn't know what it was when I went in. I was like, oh, so it's going to be like Ocean's 11, but with Poe Dameron. Cool, let's watch. And then I was like, and it's like, surprise, it's actually about a torturer and like the Bush administration. I'm like, fuck, okay. So it kind of caught me off guard in that way. I don't know if I would have liked it a little better if I had really known what it was going in. But I do think it is an interesting movie that is worth the watch. I think it is kind of an important film, even if it like misses the mark in some aspects. I did think that it was a good movie that I'm glad I watched.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those you're like, okay, I'm glad I watched it, but never going back to that one ever again.
Yeah, no,
need to see that one
exactly.
ever again.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I am not going back to watch that movie anytime soon.
Yeah. Speaking of movies I'm not going back to, I watched Malignant. This is a horror thriller directed by James Wan. I believe he started the Saw series. Now he's moved on to, I think he did Aquaman and the Fast and Furious franchise. Really, really great director. I like a lot of what he's done. This is a weird fucking movie, like really fucking weird, because all of these people, they're all acting like way overacting. The dialogue is terrible, and I thought they were eventually like going to pull back and be like, "Oh, this isn't somebody's head. This can't be real. All of these people."
Well,
cannot be acting
there
like
is
this.
something in somebody's head, so.
Yeah, there is something in somebody's head, true. And it was just like, what? Why is everyone over the top? And what is this dialogue? And what is happening? And then, yeah, the ending, like you said, just is really fucking crazy. But I understand the whole thing was over the top and crazy, but goddamn, I was so put off by the character, like the cartoonish characterization of like the black woman in the cell with her and the Latino woman in the cell with her. And the black woman just like, damn, girl, what are you doing? Jesus Christ, what the hell going on?
She has like an afro, like she's from the 7th. I'm like, and then like
what
you have like the sidekick cop who's just like a total like cliche. Yeah. She's just like every sassy black partner cop in every movie. And I'm like, come on, guys, we don't have to. That's
why I thought this movie was going to pull back and be like, this is just production of something. Somebody's making this, because there is no way you actually are being serious about this right now, because like you said, everybody's a caricature of that character. Everybody's way over the top. The dialogue is super awkward and stale. I'm just like, this has got to be a joke. Tell me at some point this is a joke. And they just never pulled back the veil. It was like, you just ended. I'm like, okay.
Everything was so fucking on the nose. Like, even to the point where, like, when they play that the Pixies "Where Is My Mind," I'm like, okay, I fucking get it. Like,
yeah, they didn't even really play it too. It was just like a weird, interpretation of it, because they never like broke into the lyrics, or never broke into the actual song. It was just this weird, like I said, interpretation of it.
It was one of my least favorite movies of the year. I fucking hate it. I really don't like to be super negative about movies, but this was a bad movie. This was a bad movie with bad acting, a horrible script, just like, and people like loved it. And I like that scene where she's like a backwards John Wick is kind of cool, I guess, but like, like it was so just like ham-fisted and cheesy and not in a fun way. Like, it was just like, I was just bored watching it, and like, there's moments that are supposed to be really like when she's like, "You're adopted," and it's like, "Oh," I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this has not been built up, or like, why is this a revelation? Like, none of these characters are interesting or important. Like, this was never established. Just it's so, and then the way it ends is just like, oh well, we'll save this in case we have to have a sequel, and it just makes me think that I don't think that James when you look at the success of the Saw movies and the things that he's had that are successful, I really think that his partnership with Lee Whannell is really why. Because I think, like, if you look at their solo stuff, Lee Whannell, like, Upgrade from a couple years back, infinitely better than this.
Yes.
So interesting.
Yes.
Like, the way that movie kind of has, it's kind of like a cheesy, like, very cliched, like, horror/action film, but the way that handles it is so much better, and the ending of that movie is just really interesting, and just kind of like the way they play on the cliches, you're much more invested, and I think that it really shows, it's always interesting when you go on to see collaborators are like, okay, who's more responsible for this, like when you go watch like Damon Lindelof's post-law stuff, it's like, okay, here's like The Leftovers, as opposed to, Carlton Hughes, he went on and did some pretty good shows, but like it's not the same as like all the themes that were in Lost. Like, you're not going to see those in Bates Motel, for example.
Right, exactly. So yeah, avoid that. I think I rented this for like $7. I'm like, shit, I want my $7 back with interest.
Oh man, it was I watched it when it came out on like HBO Max or whatever, when it was like in the theater, and I could barely get through it, honestly.
Yeah. But let's move on to something that's actually pretty good. Actually, very good, actually. West Side Story just came out a few days ago. I saw this in the theater. Again, terrible theater-going experience. I just got to say it real quick. My God, what is wrong with people? I think we forgot how to sit down and shut the fuck up and watch a movie, because there's a lady on her phone, like near the front of the theater. Two people to the side of me were talking, and like a girl was on the guy's lap the entire time, and they were going back and forth and coming back out. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Jesus. But anyways, West Side Story. directed by Steven Spielberg, one of his first movies in, I think, three or 4 years now. Screenplay by Tony Kushner, of course. Starring, we got Ansel Elgort as Tony, Rachel Ziegler as Maria, Ariana DeBois as Anita. So I said last time, I'm not a musical guy. Trying to dip my toe into the world of musical theater, and this is one of the best things I've seen so far in that respect. Obviously, this is a all-time classic, so I expect it to be good, but I really, really like this. This is one of the first musicals, or one of the only musicals, I think, directed by Steven Spielberg, and I think he did a really, really good job. He took his, obviously his iconic eye for staging and composing and blocking and just put it into this, and it works really, really well. I think the choreography, the dance choreography was really, really good. I don't know if you guys ever seen West Side Story? Any iterations of it?
I've seen the original one.
Yeah.
Which,
so the original?
I mean, that's another movie. It feels like homework, like I'm just like,
yeah.
Like it's one of those movies that has
absolutely
not aged
homework.
Well. Yeah.
Actually, it was schoolwork because I watched it in music class.
Yeah, so this is really good. It updates it, obviously, very, very good cinematography, very, very good all of that, all the choreography. I feel like Ansel Elgort is fine as Tony. He's he's a very tall person, and Rachel Ziegler looks like she's like 15. He looks 27. So that right there is a little bit of a put off there. I think they had not great chemistry. I feel like the the supporting cast was actually more interesting. I think they have more interesting storylines. So that's not great in terms of wanting your main characters to have the spotlight there. Very interesting that you have Rita Moreno, who played Anita in the original. She's back as a character called Valentina. I guess there was a guy named Doc in the original that they replaced her with. So very good performances by Corey Stoll, who is the bad guy in Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man. I love him.
Yeah, House of Cards.
Yeah, House of Cards. Yep, exactly. Him too.
Back
he was in that.
Good.
Back when it was good, yes. without Kevin Spacey, or with Kevin Spacey, unfortunately. Let's see, what can I say about this? Yeah, just great. Again, I think it's all about the songs. We talked about the songs not being great in Kick Kick Boom, and I think coming out of this, I did listen to America. I listened to a bunch of different songs off of this away from the movie, so that definitely was a plus in there. So yeah, highly recommend watching West Side Story. Very, very good.
Okay. I mean, I'll watch pretty much everything Spielberg makes. So this is obviously a remake of a classic, so I'm interested to see how he updates it, and I'm skeptically optimistic about this one. I've got my fingers crossed, so it's good to hear that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think it's overall people are saying it's one of his best. Huh?
Was there a lot of finger snapping in it?
Not a lot. I think they updated the dance fighting really well to make it less campy, we'll say.
Okay.
Less weird looking. Yeah. I think people are saying overall.
Fun fact: did you know when you snap your fingers, like the sound isn't made until it hits your palm?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah, I always thought it was the two fingers separating, but yeah, it's actually your palm.
I had no idea. Science.
Yeah. Science.
Yeah, bitch.
Yeah, science bitch. So next up, I have Spencer. You talked about this last time. This is Pablo Larraín's newest movie. He did Jackie a couple of years ago. The stars, Kristen Stewart, Timothy Spall, Jack Farthing, and I love Sean Harris. Sean Harris is good in everything. Sally Hawkins is very good in this. This is definitely Kristen Stewart's giving my Oscar role that she took on to entice the Academy to give her at least a nomination. She's absolutely going to get a nomination. This is absolutely her. This is actually the movie itself is going to be nominated probably for an Oscar. Like you said, this was very atmospheric, very, like I said, about the power of dog. It builds dread with the Johnny Greenwood score. Very weird score, very weird. It has trumpet. Is it a trumpet or is it a trombone? In the conversation, it has that weird score in the background. Yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. So that it had a very 1970s feel to it. I feel like also going back to the film stock. I was watching this on my TV and it had a very I feel like it had a washed out, like a weird pixelated, it felt like a movie that was filmed in the 80s, which I think lets you immerse yourself into that world. Since I believe it takes place either in the late 80s or early 90s. But yeah, just it gives you a very claustrophobic feel to it. Definitely has a lot to do with her bulimia at that time because it was very food focused. A lot of focusing on Sean Harris, who is the cook. Talking about, they shoot fennel or not quail. Was it quails or fennels or what were they shooting into the air? They shot something in the air. And they went
some kind of little bird.
Some kind of little bird, and they're like, yeah, it's very beautiful but very delicate. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we get it. The metaphor.
There. Yeah, the metaphor, exactly. So yeah. I really like this. Yeah, I'm not sure. Were you two? Were you very high on this last time or not?
I wasn't. I wanted to like it a lot. I think that it's kind of like the card counter for me, where I didn't like it as much as the card counter, but where there was some good performances and good stuff there. Really beautifully shot. We mentioned same cinematographer as Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I think that my problems mainly came from the script and I think that it handled mental health in kind of I didn't really care for that, the way it handled that, and I think my main problem for me was that it felt like it was at an 8 the entire time. So when it went up to a 10, I was like, okay, like there needed to be some moments of like when it lowered down a little bit, so that when it did crank up a little bit, you felt it instead of just kind of like constant, just like I said, just an 8 out, and then jumps up a little bit. And I feel like I don't get why all the common people liked her. Like I get in real life why they did, but in the movie I was like, she's just kind of shitty to everybody, like people are they're like, oh, I'm in love with you. She's like, oh, that's hilarious. I'm like, what? Like that's not how you react to that. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there was some real good stuff in it. It just I wanted to like it, but it didn't hit for me. Also, just randomly, did you notice the really, really like horrendous product placement that was in this movie?
No, what was it?
At the end when they go through KFC, because apparently like in real life, like she always went to McDonald's, but they like made it KFC in the movie so they could get a product tie-in, and like KFC was even like selling like one of like this like a Christmas one of those ugly sweaters with like chickens and stuff on it. It was like the Spencer or the Diana or whatever. And I was just like, oh my god, like okay, like it's just like very prominently featuring KFC in this like last important scene. I was like, okay. Like, is this the best? Do you really want to, like, have your product, like, in this movie about bulimia, KFC? Like, all right.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. I never thought of that. Oh, yeah. But yeah, give that like a 7 or 8. Very good.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of those movies I'm like, I hope people like it better than I did,
Yeah. And it's also one of those, I feel like it's a little homeworky. It feels like it's, like I said, it's definitely Oscar contender. So it feels like one of those that you just have to check off for the end of the year list. Have you guys seen Suicide Squad?
Yes, I did.
Hell yeah!
You both did. Okay, great. I just saw this today. Yeah, this is amazing. I think they really need to. I think was the Harley Quinn solo movie, was that rated R as well, or was that PG-13?
I think that was R, right?
I believe so. It might have been. I don't know. I'm thinking back on it. I don't know if there's a lot of swearing. I don't know if there's a lot of blood and guts. But yeah.
What was it? It was Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, look it up.
Go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah. This was just great from the first minute to last minute. Just what was it? Idris Elba or somebody right off the bat was like, "What the fuck is going on?" It's just like that's exactly how somebody would actually react. Margot Robbie is great in this. Idris Elba, I love his just reaction to everything. Just like, "What the fucking weasel?" And you got this rat person over here. John Cena was incredible. I love his
afraid of weasels.
Afraid of weasels, and John Cena and him, like Idris Elba was like, nobody likes to show off, and John Cena's like, they do like a show off when what you're showing off is dope as fuck.
And he's like, fuck, he's right.
That's true.
He's fucking right. Oh, man.
Peacemaker was hilarious. John Cena's character stole it, but I mean, all the characters were actually very entertaining. I liked King Shark too, but Polka Dot Man was a fun one. They're just all good characters. And like you're saying, like that opening scene on the beach, you just like all their weak ass powers, and you're just like, it would seem like one of those things where it's like building up. It's like, oh, these guys are going to do something. And they just get fucking brutally massacred.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was just like led up to this whole movie. And it's just, I don't know. I thought it was great.
Yeah, that opening scene is so great. And I think it does so well is that, in a lot of these superhero movies, both from DC and Marvel, it's like, yeah, the Avengers are going to make it through this. Unless it's like Endgame or something and it's the end of the story. Like, you're like, okay, nobody's going to die in this. Everybody's safe. There might be like, even in like the first Suicide Squad, I think like one character dies, and it's like, who's gonna make it through pretty much. But in this movie, especially because that opening scene where just like everybody is fucking dead, like they're just killing off, including Captain Boomerang, who was my favorite part and the only part I really actually enjoyed of the first Suicide Squad. was Captain Boomerang, and then he dies, and Harley Quinn's like, "Boomy," and you're like, "Oh my god!" Like it just sets the tone for like anybody could get fucking taken out. Like I think Idris Elba could get taken out. Like Joel Kinnaman, who was like the main character in both these movies, obviously he does get taken out, and that's like like you really are in it, and it just really that it's very unique in that term, and just kind of like feeling like, wow, you're in this, you don't know who's gonna make it out of this movie, just anything can happen. I love James Gunn, and this is great.
Yeah.
I gotta say too, this movie kind of seemed like it had a stigma to it too. Like maybe it was like DC, or maybe because like other Suicide Squad things didn't like completely pan out the way audience would have liked them to. So a lot of people probably went in this just like, oh fine, and it's like I'm not gonna watch it, or they already had an opinion.
Yeah.
But if you could actually go into that not expecting a whole lot, just be like, all right, I'm just gonna watch this, you probably walked away entertained.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a win, and then it turned out to be an actually, consensus good movie. It's like, yeah, I don't know. James Gunn wins again.
Yeah, is this the biggest jump between a first movie and a sequel ever? Like, I can't think of one where there's, in terms of quality, it jumped up this much between the first one and the second one.
Yeah, maybe Blade.
I agree.
Blade to Blade 2, maybe? I'm not sure. I haven't seen Blade 1
maybe
in a
Mad
while.
Max to the Road Warriors, the only other one I could think of.
Oh, yes.
That's
okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Or the Planet of the Apes well, okay, I was going to say Planet of the Apes, like the new ones, but the first one's actually still pretty solid for that one, so that I can't say that either.
You could say, Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes 2, the rebooted one, right?
Well, I'm saying it was like the first rebooted one.
What about that one?
Oh, right. So this is like in that world. They're just going to keep going with this. This movie's actually like part of the DCEU. That's interesting because they're just going to kill off these guys and be like, okay, they're dead for the rest of the. For the rest of DC. That's interesting, huh?
Yeah, well, I think that's
that.
That's part of the reason why they were like using these kind of like low name characters, because it's like, yeah, we can just kill, like, who cares if we kill off Polka Dot Man, like like it's like she's like, who gives a shit, that's why I thought it was really cool. They're like I felt like James Gunn is like, what characters do you not need, do you not care about? Oh, this guy who was just like this rat thing, like all these characters that nobody cares about the detachable arm boy or whatever, so they're just like, throw those guys in there, fucking kill them off.
Detachable arm guy. Jesus. And he just shoots his arms off and he just slaps him in the face. He's like, dude, at least punch him or kick him or something with your arms. I don't know. Let's do something. Jesus.
Polka Dot Man low-key had a superpower, man. That's like Class S kind of shit.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So going back to possibly Oscar-nominated stuff, I watched Belfast today. This is a movie directed by Kenneth Branagh, written by Kenneth Branagh, starring, and I'm looking up her name here. I'm trying to look up the pronunciation. It's spelled Caitriona. Catriona? Something like that, I guess. Catriona Belf. Judi Dench and Jamie Dornan. Derek, you saw this a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I saw it. It was, I think it was exactly what I was expecting, just kind of a sappy, sentimental movie about Kenneth Branagh that was very, very autobiographical, and, that's what I got exactly. I felt like some of the stuff, like the way it handles terrorism, was not like I think that was my main problem with the movie. Like, it's fine. It's like a 3 out of 5 star movie. It's it's whatever. Very forgettable to me. I think my main issue was it with the tone. Like, it was like, in one moment it was like, haha, it's so fun to be a kid in Ireland. And then it's like, boom, explosions. And you're like, what am I supposed to be feeling at any moment? Like, it didn't feel like a transition between those two emotions well. I did really like, though, I don't remember the character or the actress's name, but like kind of that the friend, his like older friend who was a girl who kind of is kind of like a rebel a little bit, and she's like, oh, she kind of like takes him along to steal. I thought she was like low key the goat of this movie, but yeah, it was
yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Did you catch the reference to Kenneth Branagh putting? Is like, hey, I directed Thor.
I did.
Did you catch
that? I did. I think he mentioned on the WTF podcast that he was actually a fan of Thor when he was a kid. So it actually is accurate to his autobiography. I really like this. This reminded me of last year. Steve McQueen did a small act series, and one of the movies or episodes in that was called Alex Weedle, and this reminded me of that. It was just like a really small, intimate, domestic drama where it's just about him and his home life and trying to go to school and trying to better himself, even though he was from the Bahamas and he was living in England in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I think. So this reminded me a lot of that. Also, Terrence Malick's Tree of Life, it had that domestic drama stuff in there, and I feel like this is. Like you said, it switches between tones too radically, and I feel like if you went into like Jojo Rabbit, you expect that, right? Because it's what's the director's name?
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, you expect that out of him because he's a comedic director, so you expect mostly comedy, but he's sprinkled some drama in there as well because obviously it takes place in World War II, so there's got to be some drama in there. But yeah, I felt like this was very similar, but again, I think. Do you think it's because you weren't expecting the little bits of comedy in there from Kenneth Branagh that it was so jarring to you?
Well, I think the reason that it doesn't work for me in this one and it works for me in JoJo is because in JoJo they are actively making fun of the Nazis. Like even when you're like, oh wow, the Nazis are kind of like doing terrible things. It's like, look at how stupid the Gestapo is. Like look at how dumb all they like, and it's like making fun of Hitler. And it's like, wow, the scene where it does get serious. It's at least like, yeah, you do kind of like know that these guys are morons, whereas like they're just treated like it's just the way they handle the terrorists in this is not that at all. Like you're supposed to take them very, very seriously in this. And when he's going back and forth between being like, oh, I'm just a kid, oh, I'm getting caught up in this terrorist plot, like it doesn't feel of a kind, whereas Jojo Rabbit, it all feels like it's all in the same movie because they are these buffoons. That scene where it's like, Hail Hitler, and they're just going back and forth. Like, that's hilarious, while you're also, like, very tense. So you're like, oh, shit, are they going to catch her? Like, are they going to catch Mackenzie Davis in this scene? It kind of weaves the comedy and the drama in together, whereas this one, it feels like, okay, now we're doing this, now we're doing this.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like because the movie is literally from the kid's point of view. Like there's but basically every shot in this movie is from basically the ground. It's from the ground looking up. So I feel like most of the movie is from his point of view. Which I went into this being like, I don't know a lot about the Troubles, and I would like to learn a little bit of it. And I feel like he doesn't go into it at all. And I feel like the reason for that is, again, it's from the kid's point of view, and so maybe that is why that you get this feeling of like, what is going on? What is the people doing? Why are they doing it? So I feel like maybe that's part of the confusion and the weird tonal shifts is because you're looking at it directly from the kid's point of view, and looking at the world through a kid's point of view, you're not going to get the full picture, and you're not really going to understand why what's happening is happening. So I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's kind of like a naive lens you're looking through, and like I don't think it's a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but It's not something that I'm gonna ever probably go back to. Like I just was like, yeah, that's fine. Watched it and then moved on.
Yeah, exactly. So that concludes everything I've watched the past couple weeks. Woo! Let me rest my voice. Let's see, Derek, what have you been watching this week?
So yeah, the only new thing that I watched was I went out and watched Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, which people are not familiar. It's a reboot of the Resident Evil franchise, and it's getting pretty bad reviews. It's not doing great at the box office, but I enjoyed it. Like it's not like Spencer or like the card, like it's not like this serious thing. But for me, it kind of like it's got lower aspirations, and it just kind of hits those. It's fine. It's a pretty solid video game movie. If you like me, you don't like the old Resident Evil movies, which I do not. I think they're just kind of like over the top, and they're just like called Resident Evil just to kind of like tie into these games. They're not really every once in a while you'll hear like, oh, there's Leon over there. They don't really have anything to do with the games other than the fact that they're zombies and they'll mention a T-virus. This is actually a direct adaptation of the first 2 games. And, me being a fan of Resident Evil, I really liked that. I like that it's set in the 90s, and that kind of adds, kind of some interesting wrinkles. It kind of has some cool cultural references, but it also is like, oh, well, we just can't, there's a whole thing where they're like, we need to get in contact with these people, we need to get over here. Normally, if it was set in 2021, you just call them, hey, come pick us up in the helicopter. You can't do that in 1998. You gotta, go through, the mansions and stuff like that, and it does kind of feel like it recaptures that, tension of those early Resident Evil games where you're just kind of, making your way through and, oh, there might be a zombie here. I liked the guy who played Leon a lot. He's not really like Leon Leon's my favorite character from the games. He's a very different character, but he's fun. He's kind of fun and funny. And there's an interesting ticking clock where it kind of, by the end of this movie, they have a certain amount of time to get out of the city or they'll be wiped out, and it just kind of keeps reminding you oh, it's this time now, it's this time now. So if you're looking for just kind of something fun and enjoyable to watch that is not going to win any Oscars and it's not going to go down in history as a great movie, but is definitely, for me, a lot more enjoyable than at least all the other Resident Evil movies, it's a good one to watch. Just if you're a fan of the games, definitely check this one out.
Nice. Very, very cool. Yeah, I've played, was it the first 3? I think I played 4 as well. So yeah, I've actually heard very good things about this, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very loyal to the game. It's got a lot of references if you played the game. So yeah, very, very, very cool. What else you been watching?
So I, every once in a while, or once a year, there's this theater, my local art house theater, called the Frida, and it's actually where I had my live show recently. They do a Lord of the Rings marathon, extended editions. So I also, you did your Peter Jackson, long marathon. I did, my Peter Jackson long marathon. So we starts at 11:30, and it ended by there's a break for lunch and dinner between the second and the third movies. So it didn't end till 12:30 at night or something like that, almost 1 a.m. So I did that all day. That was really cool, just being back in the theater. And it's kind of like what we were talking about, where it is so cool to just, I was there with all these fans that I've watched these movies so many times over the years, but it's just, by myself or with maybe 1 or 2 other people. But seeing it with the crowd and cheering whenever it's Arwen comes on for the first time, or Aragorn comes on, or Theoden says a speech and everyone's just cheering, Wormtongue comes out and everybody boos, it was so much fun. He says, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, and it was oh my god, it's the thing, he said the thing. It was so much fun. Oh my god, I had a blast with that. Yeah. So I really had fun time with that, going back and seeing that in the theater for the first time in a while. I hadn't gone to that since I think the first year they did it. This is the second or third. I know they missed COVID last year. They couldn't do it, so it was really cool being back and seeing that.
Yeah, nice. I watched the extended trilogy last year, I believe, all the way through. Yeah. I was telling Dion and Andy they were just, the first one was a little over 3 hours. The second one's 3.5, and the third one's 4.5 hours, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're very extremely long movies, but they definitely flesh out the movies. If there's especially that last, was it Return of the King? Has the moment where the mouth of Sauron comes out and tells them that Frodo died. Yeah, that's one of the best.
I was bidden to show thee. He's just oh my god, he's so good. And they digitally make his mouth fucking huge. I love that.
Yeah, and one of the scenes I don't understand why they took out was Sauron. I always forget, Saruman or Saruman is the actual.
Saruman
wizard
at the beginning. Yeah. Because that caused a big rift between him and Christopher Lee for a while. He was pissed he got cut out of the movie.
Well, his death, I'm talking specifically about his death, where he falls out of the tower and he lands on the wheel, and they took that out. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Apparently it was because they were it kind of we needed to didn't want to return to the villain of the second one here in the third one.
Oh, gotcha.
That was what Peter Jackson said, and Christopher Lee was there was a big rift between them for a couple of years. Until he kind of was okay, well, we're going to put it back in the extended edition. This is kind of the complete version. And after that, they kind of patched things up and he agreed to be in The Hobbit. But yeah, that's a great scene. I think that is one of the most interesting scenes. And you see Pippin get the Palantir and stuff. And I love that.
Yep. It's a great experience. I talked about this last year, but yeah, it's just seeing them all together like that. I think at that point it had been 10, maybe 15 years since I actually saw them. I think I saw them in theaters when they came out. So yeah, very very cool experience seeing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what else have you been watching?
Yeah, I also watched a couple movies for Christmas. I've been guesting on a couple other podcasts, and one of them I'm talking about Jingle All the Way, and I've seen that a lot. So that was it's a dumb movie, but it's like from
classic.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, you love to just see Arnold's a Sinbad. Like I think Arnold's a really great physical comedian.
Yeah.
Sinbad is just like he's got like a very like kind of like quick wit and just like he's really funny and just. It's like ridiculous and over the top, but it's so fun to just like Arnold's like put that cookie down, like all that stuff. And then I watched also Die Hard 2 for another podcast I was on, which I'd never seen before. And I was like, I was like, okay, cool, another Die Hard. People love to say it's a Christmas movie, and I agree with them. Die Hard 2, and yes, another Christmas movie. So it's really cool to see that kind of like him in the airport and stuff like that, and so I'd love to see that. So. And I mean, the Christmas spirit with some of these, in my opinion, Christmas classics.
Yeah, Die Hard 2. I will always remember Die Hard 2 as having one of my favorite puns of all time. He's getting the facts from the woman in the airport, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like trying to flirt with him, and he's like, "Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts." Oh yeah, I love those movies. Have you seen any of the new ones, like the newish ones? The Die Hard. What's it even called? Like
Die Hard. There's Okay, so there's Die Hard with a Vengeance. And then there's A Good Day to Die Hard. Okay, so I'd seen the first Die Hard like 10 years ago or something, and I was like, oh, fucking great, right? And then I was dating this girl at the time when the most recent one, 5, came out, and they're like, oh, we're going to go see the new Die Hard movie. I was like, all right, cool, like I like the first one, so this one's probably not as good, but I'll go watch it. And I was like, what happened? In those intervening 3 movies, and you can kind of see it, like Die Hard 2, it's not, like Die Hard 1 is a perfect film. Die Hard 2, it's like, oh, it's the shine's coming up a little bit, and I could tell that, like, it's just like a downward thing from there, like, I haven't seen 3 or 4 yet, but, if the trend continues, I feel like it does, because 5 is horrible. 5 is god-awful.
There's been a rumor that they're...
Love the, like...
Yeah, there's been a rumor that they're trying to do like an origin story for McClane forever, just to show him like where this cop started get his start out, and how he become such an amazing police officer. They can do all this stuff. It's like, no, please don't, just don't.
Yeah, like pulling down like the helicopter. I think that he was doing something like that. Either Live Free, Die Hard, or A Good Day to Die Hard. One of those two. He was like. He's racing a helicopter. Some Fast and the Furious shit, It's like, I want to see a crossover now. I want to see Die Hard X Fast and the Furious.
He was
Diesel versus Bruce Willis. Let's go.
He was sliding off the edge of an airplane, right? The F1 airplane, right? The side of an airplane at one point, right? In one of the later ones.
For what?
Probably, I think that was 4, I want to say.
Yeah, Die Hard 4.
That's the one with Timothy Olyphant, right?
Yeah, yep. Just ridiculous. Yeah. All right, so what else you been watching?
So the last thing I watched was I don't know if you guys saw the trailer just dropped for the Lakers show, Winning Time. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I've heard the Winning Time. They couldn't use Showtime because Showtime sued them for copyright infringement or something, right?
Yeah. But so I saw that, and I've been thinking about the Lakers because I'm a big Lakers fan. Living out here in Southern California, went all my life, and that show looked hilarious, and it kind of got me, jazzed up thinking about Kareem, who's my all-time favorite player. And I watched this HBO documentary from about 5 or 6 years ago called Kareem, Minority of One, and that was really interesting because he's such an interesting guy. Like, he's kind of the GOAT, in my opinion, He's also just like, he was really a revolutionary at the time. Like, he sat in all the civil rights conferences with Muhammad Ali and all these guys, and just was, he changed his name. He changed his name to a Muslim name. Was the first year he was in the league, he was Lou Alcindor, and he changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he converted to Muslim. So he's, was a huge deal for civil rights and just also just like basketball and how he completely has been such a revolutionary figure. So, if you're looking for some more Lakers stuff after watching this documentary, or watching the trailer, check out Kareem. It's an HBO original documentary. So it's on HBO Max, Kareem Minority of One, or if you just like him a lot like I do, it's pretty cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, finally, Dion.
Yeah, Kareem's great.
Yeah.
Yes, Kareem. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is way better than whatever that first name you said was. Yeah.
Lou Alcindor, which is not
Lou
nearly
Alcindor.
as cool. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Dion, I have to go take a pee break. Do you want to take a break first, or you want to go straight into your stuff? And you can talk while I take a pee.
I can just pound it out unless you got something else you talk about after that.
No, you can go right ahead.
All right, yeah. So
yeah.
I've been watching The Great. It's comedy drama on Hulu. Thing is, for the first season, it was all comedy. Mm-hmm. Now the second season, it's all drama.
Okay.
So I haven't really been vibing with the second season here. Basically, it's following Catherine the Great, and in the beginning, I don't know. Have you ever watched any of The Great?
I haven't seen the new season, but I loved the first season. Like, it's, we were talking about how, like, we need to watch more stuff, and I'm behind and stuff. I'm going to watch the season 2 of The Great before I watch any of the stuff we've talked about, any of the shows we've talked about, because I really liked the first season. So, all right, I'm not curious now to see how, you say the second season doesn't work for you?
It's not working for me. Unfortunately, a lot of the humor of it is kind of gone. Peter's he's in it, but it's kind of like he almost turns into a side character instead of one of the main characters, and it focuses a lot more on her like struggles trying to rule a kingdom and trying to deal with all the people around her, and it can get emotional at times. And a lot of the vulgarity that made it like very comical. A lot of Peter's antics, a lot of it's gone. Okay. So it's still funny, but I'm definitely not laughing out loud as much as I had.
Well, I feel like a lot of shows run into that problem, right? Where you have like the first season and they're like trying to attain power. Like I mentioned House of Cards and how it was good early on, and when he's trying to like get power and he kind of moves up, and tries to become vice president and president, when he becomes it's just like becomes a different show and the dynamic's all weird. So it might be the same thing. Like she's like, oh, she's figuring out her new life, and then she's the queen. It's like, or it's like the Matrix when it's like the whole movie about Neo trying to get this power, and it's like the sequels are coming out. And they're like, well, now he can do anything. Like, he's just, it's not as interesting as him trying the road to get to where he's at.
Yeah, the climb. Yeah. Heath Ledger, saying as a Joker, he's like, I'm like a dog, and I'm chasing a car, and I don't know what to do when I get the thing.
Yeah, exactly, man.
That was the Jimmy Stewart, if he was a Joker impression. I like that.
Wow, you see, Batman, if I threw the lasso around the moon, see, Batman, it'd all dissolve into your mouth.
Hey,
just Mario, give
you a rat.
Yes.
Let's see, moving on. Yeah. I've watched Hawkeye. I've only watched the first episode, but getting back to that, the drama thing, like not the drama, but the Broadway play or whatever, that was fucking hilarious. I gotta say, and the fact that like Hawkeye's watching it and he's just like, he's so like detached from it. I mean, it was borderline giving him like PTSD, and that's something that I see like a lot of these like tie-in shows. A lot of these guys are dealing with their trauma they've experienced like in the movies and stuff like that. And it's just funny that this is not really funny, but actually, it's sad that this kind of thing is triggering him, and he's getting like mean about it. It's just like, who wasn't there, and he's like pointing at that guy. He's like,
oh my god, that was like one of my favorite moments of the whole series. Oh my god, if you weren't going to say it, I was going to say it because I loved that.
And so far, I mean, Hawkeye was one of those things, like you were saying, not my favorite superhero. Going in with zero expectations. Honestly, I forgot that it even come out until I was looking at this list, and I'm like, I'll check out the first episode, and I've been entertained, so I'll continue to watch that. I started watching Hellbound. It's a South Korean series on Netflix. Another dubbed subbed kind of thing, like Squid Games. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
I was listening to your guys' episode on that.
Yeah, this time I kind of learned from my mistakes, and I chose to do just one, so I'm listening to it dubbed. Yeah. And so basically, this basically, these people, these sinners, they get visited by this floating face, and they say that you've lived a shitty life, you're going to die in 7 days. And what happens is these 3 demons from hell basically show up anywhere you are, and they just proceed to pummel you until you die, and then they breathe on you, and they just turn you into ash. And it captures like a social media aspect to it. Apparently, it's kind of like the youth of this nation is tied to social media, and they're like leading this charge where it's just like, okay, now it's like heavily religious, and it's almost like kids being brainwashed kind of to the point. They're forming these gangs and like having copycat kind of stuff. And you got all these, the police force are just old cop adults. They're just like, oh, I don't understand these kids these days. The first episode was pretty ridiculous. I might, bounce back and forth just I don't know if I don't have anything better to watch. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of people like flocked to this one after the Squid Games phenomenon, and I saw it in the Netflix top 10, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And it's got kind of an interesting premise, but I don't know if it's enough to hold me for the whole thing. And the last thing I watched, it's called C. It's on Apple Plus. Jason Momoa stars in it. It also has Dave Bautista. It's kind of like, you ever play the game Horizon?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So it's got like a post-apocalyptic feel to it. Basically what happened was a virus came through and made everybody that survived the virus blind. So everybody that exists now is blind, of course, except for this random pregnant lady that came to this village, and she gives birth to 2 children who have the ability to see. So now it becomes like a must protect the babies thing. And Jason Momoa's character, he's like the guardian. He wifed that lady when she came in, so now he's kind of like their stepdad. And everything you love about Jason Momoa, like in Dune, where he pops up behind the guys and he's roaring, and he's like, they thought he was dead, but he's just like, I'm gonna stab you all to death and then I'll die. Like, that's all on full display here. Jason Momoa in all his glory, and he's got the beard back. So I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I'm going to watch this. Yeah, I'm going to go through it to the end, because Jason Momoa with a beard is like top tier actor, everything. So, yeah, it's, and I'll say, like, Apple Plus, like, those shows, they were like cinematography kind of thing. Like, just maybe not like that, but like the scenery that they construct in these shows, just it's very like, I don't know, very detailed. So there was a lot of scenes in this that was just like their village is in a forest on a mountain. So it's just like, damn, that's beautiful. And you just wonder, like, the money they put behind this kind of the shows that they put on Apple Plus. It's like, if all the shows like this have this kind of quality, it's like, I really hope they're seeing like good profits from it, because that seems like it's a pretty expensive deal they got going on.
Must be. Gotta be.
But yeah, so those are what I've been watching.
Very cool.
That's Succession.
That is Succession. Yeah. Tomorrow night, the finale. Can't wait for that one. Season 3 finale.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. I'll be
all the dicks.
I'll be watching it alongside you with you. I got tomorrow off, so we'll be live tweeting, live texting that one. So as we wrap up this episode, it's going to be one of the last episodes of the year, probably the last episode of the year, because next in 2 weeks it's Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then 2 weeks after that, best episode of the year, best movies, TV shows, audiobooks, podcasts, all of that stuff going to be on, I had it written down here, let's scroll back up. Recording January 8th, posting Monday, January 10th, best of the year. So, miss you guys, how do you feel about your top 5 movies of the year? Is it locked in, or do you have to see some more? How do you feel?
I still got to see some stuff for sure. Like one of my most anticipated movies, Licorice Peach, is not out yet. Especially after hearing you talk about Power of the Dog, I still need to see that. So, there's probably a couple straggler movies I need to see, but I feel like Licorice Pizza has a pretty good chance of cracking my top 5. So I try not to put too high expectations on it, because it remains to be seen. But yeah, no way is my top 5 solidified yet.
Yeah, same. I mean, there's still like, I don't know, 3 weeks, and I got all these shows that I haven't even touched yet. Like, my idea with how I got like these, I've only watched 1 episode of Hawkeye, 1 episode of Hellbound, well, 2 episodes of Hellbound, and 1 episode of C. So like I'm kind of like going forward and seeing like which ones I should like advance in. So if by using that idea, I'm gonna try to like come across all kinds of stuff. So it's completely possible that something catches my eye and it gets put in the top 5. But I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
They're all my top 5 is just 5 episodes of Ted Lasso. So, I mean,
yeah.
It might not be that hard to break into.
Yeah. Some of the stuff
I'm joking, Damien. Please, I'm joking.
I need it. Well, I believe you're joking, but I need to see. I'm going to demand to see Andy's top 5 because listen to this, Derek. The guy's coming on the show like once every 18 months. Every time we do a top 5, he never has a top 5 ready. He's like, I just go off the top of my head. Fuck you. Be prepared. Be a professional. Prepare.
Yeah.
Do the work. Yeah, so
yeah, I suppose that's the one thing you gotta say to him is that's a good idea. Make sure that he actually has the list because he does seem like he has a lot of movies that are in shows that you have watched.
Yes.
So if he has the list, it should be you should probably agree with it, or you can see where he's coming
from.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with these top 5 lists. That's why I do my side gig at Watch Mojo because I love making lists so much.
Yeah. So just a couple of things ramble off here that I haven't seen yet that I want to see. Licorice Pizza, which I want to say Licorice Pizza. Listen, distributors, put the movies out here. I just checked when this was supposed to come out. It's supposed to come out Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I checked if it's playing around here. Nope, not playing around here at all. We're going to be in Albany. It's going to be like an hour and a half away. It's just like, guy, do you want money or not? Like, put your movie out where people can see it. I really want to see that. Really want to see The Last Duel. I haven't seen that yet. It's available to me. I'll be watching that tonight probably. The Souvenir Part 2.
I want to watch that.
Yeah, Last Duel looks amazing. Souvenir Part 2.
If you can put your phone down long enough, you damn millennial.
Exactly. The Souvenir Part 2, Joanna Hogg's sequel to The Souvenir a couple years ago, starred her and her mom, Tilda Swinton, Tom Burke, and Richard Ayoade. Red Rocket is the new Sean Baker film. He did Tangerine and he did The Florida Project from a few years ago, so I'm super excited to see that. I want to see Benedetta, the new Paul Verhoeven film. I still got to see The French Dispatch and Summer of Soul, and just want to mention the predictions so far. They have Belfast at the top running. The number 1 seed right now, I guess, is Belfast, followed by Power of the Dog, King Richard, Dune, a bunch of stuff we've already seen. West Side Story is up there, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Tragedy of Macbeth. A lot of stuff that hasn't come out yet into theaters again. But put your shit out there, please, so we can actually see it.
Yeah.
Being the Ricardos is something I've heard is pretty good. It's coming out on Amazon, I think, pretty soon. The Lost Daughter, directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. I believe this sounds pretty good. Let's see. Spencer, we've seen The House of the Gucci. That was an amazing film. Is it an amazing film? I don't know. I got to think about it. Amazing acting. So much acting. The most.
You were gushing, so I'd have to say that I feel like you think it's an amazing film.
It's been 2 weeks since I saw it. I've said on it. I thought about it. Still, it's the most movie. It's the most acting. I don't know if it's great. I don't know if it's good, but it's the most out there. Let's see. Passing. It's on Netflix. Even Leto. I mean, Leto, he does the most. Like, he's far out ahead of the most acting in that movie. But everybody's going for it.
I'm doing an accent, Lady Gaga. What's that? The pizza pie. He's just doing Mario.
He's by far the most chewing scenery in that movie, but he's not that far ahead of everyone else. Like, everyone's complaining about his acting in that, but everyone else is everyone else is at like a 7 and an 8. He's like at 11, but he's not that far out in front of everybody else.
I need to see it still.
Yeah, it's incredible. Passing has Rebecca Hall's directorial debut. I heard is very good. In the Heights, I heard is very good. Stillwater, I heard was okay. The Hand of God, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, I heard was pretty good. So a bunch of stuff that's going to be that's come out so far that I've seen that I still need to catch up on. So the next time you hear us, it'll be a month from now. We should have seen a whole bunch of stuff. We have a month. I've given you guys a month to see a whole bunch of stuff. Dion's going to catch up the most, but there's still a bunch I have to see. Still a bunch Derek has to see. Andy probably still has to see stuff. So, but next time we convene on these mics, it'll be the best show of the year. Dion, your wife Carrie will be on, right? Should be on there.
Yep, working on it.
Okay, working on it. TBD. Okay, hopefully she's on here. So yeah, for episode 126 and last show of 2021, I have been Damien.
Tage.
And Derek.
And we'll see you next year.
3Ds. Nice.
See you next. Triple D, baby. See you next year. Bye-bye.
Bye.